All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of a real monster of a storm. We're talking about Typhoon Kalmaegi, and we're going to follow its journey as it just tore a devastating path across Southeast Asia. We'll unpack its incredible power, but also, and more importantly, its profound impact.
It's easy to get lost in all the data, the wind speeds, the pressure systems, and yeah, that stuff is fascinating. But it's not the real story, is it? The true measure of a storm like this, it's not in the numbers. It's in the human lives it touches, the lives it changes forever. And that's the lens we're going to be looking through today.
So, to really understand this storm, you've got to know that before Kalmaegi even got close to Vietnam, it had already made a name for itself. And not in a good way. This wasn't just some storm that popped up out of nowhere. No, it arrived with a terrifying reputation. One it earned by causing just immense destruction somewhere else first. 188. Just let that sink in for a second. That's not a statistic. That's 188 people. That was the human toll from the typhoon's first major stop. A staggering, heartbreaking loss of life that was basically a massive, terrifying warning sign of what this storm could do. Yeah, that first strike in the Philippines, it was like the devastating opening act of a disaster movie. The storm showed exactly what it was capable of, leaving this incredible trail of grief in its wake. And then it just kept going, heading west across the sea. So at this point, everyone watching knew exactly what this storm could do. You can just imagine the sense of dread building. The question on everybody's mind was simple, but absolutely terrifying. Where is it going next, and what's going to happen when it gets there? And the answer to that question was Vietnam. After crossing the sea, the storm didn't just arrive. It slammed into the country's central coast. And just like that, the next brutal chapter of its journey had begun. And when it hit, wow, it was fast and it was furious. Look at this timeline. It makes landfall in the evening, rages through the entire night at peak power. And by the next morning, it's already starting to weaken as it moves inland. The whole main event was packed into this incredibly chaotic, critical 24-hour window. So after a night of absolute chaos like that, once the winds finally started to die down, the first thing, the most important thing, was to figure out the human cost. How did people fare? What was the impact on the lives in the storm's path? And the numbers that came back, well, they tell a story. First, look at that last bar. 8,000 people were evacuated. Think about that. A massive effort to get people to safety. And thank goodness they did, because even with that, tragically, 5 people still lost their lives and another 7 were injured. It just shows you the scale of the danger they were facing. But the impact, of course, went way beyond the immediate human toll. Kalmaegi literally left a scar on the landscape, a huge trail of physical devastation. Wrecked buildings, broken infrastructure, things that would make just getting back to normal life a massive challenge for a long, long time. And here's the kind of force we're talking about. Peak winds hit 149 kilometers per hour. To put that in perspective, that's over 90 miles an hour. Look, winds that strong, they don't just rustle the leaves. They literally rip things apart. They shatter homes, they topple trees, they break everything. And a direct result of that incredible force? This. 1.3 million homes without power. Just try to wrap your head around that number. I mean, an outage on that scale, it's not just an inconvenience, right? It's a major crisis. It affects safety, your ability to call for help. It affects everything right when you need it most. And the destruction was just everywhere. You've got thousands of homes with roofs just ripped right off. Then there are the 57 houses that were completely, totally destroyed, gone. Roads were blocked by fallen trees, making it impossible to get around. Out at sea, 11 fishing boats, people's entire livelihoods, sunk. Even the central railway lines were damaged. It hit every part of life. Now, of course, the storm didn't hit everywhere the same way. The provinces of Dak Lak, Quang Ngai, and Gia Lai, they really got the worst of it. But even there, the devastation looked different. In Dak Lak, you had buildings collapsing. Over in Quang Ngai and Gia Lai, it was all about massive, widespread flooding. Each place faced its own version of the nightmare. And really, this is the thing to remember. A storm like Kalmaegi, it's in the news for maybe a day, maybe 2, and then the world moves on. But for the people who lived through it, its legacy isn't measured in days. It's measured in months, sometimes years. Because for them, the moment the storm passes isn't the end. No way. It's the beginning of the real struggle, the long, hard road to recovery.